I have in my hands, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, the top 75 schmoozes of the day. Today, the Supreme Court held that the government can block non-citizens who are in the United States under a program of temporary protected status from applying for adjustment of status. Let me break this down for you guys. If you have TPS and you entered the United States legally on a visa, or you were paroled and admitted at the border and you marry a U.S. citizen, which would be your most basic example of applying for adjustment of status, and you also have TPS, you're still able to adjust your status. That's never been the issue. The issue is people who entered without inspection, people who came with no visas, people who came across the border, were never inspected, and then ultimately got TPS. The question became, are they eligible to adjust their status? The argument is that the government gave them some sort of status that they otherwise didn't have. The argument against adjusting status is that the law is very clear. In order to adjust your status, you have to be inspected or paroled at a border. So there was a court out in California that allowed people who entered without inspection, who had TPS, to adjust their status. Ultimately, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, all the justices, including the liberal ones, sided with immigration. They said the law is very, very clear. You have to be admitted on a visa. You have to be paroled into the United States. You need to have been inspected at a border to adjust your status, even if you have TPS. So this is really applying to people who entered without inspection, who were then granted TPS. Are they eligible to adjust their status? And the answer is no. You've never been able, by the way. That has been the general rule. It hasn't changed. The Supreme Court has ruled against allowing that. Now, there is always a workaround. If you have TPS, whether you're Haitian TPS or from whatever country, if you have TPS, you are eligible for something called advance parole. We talk about it all the time. Advance parole is a temporary travel document to leave the United States for a very short period of time and then return. Guess what happens if you enter without inspection? You're then granted TPS. You then get advance parole. You leave the United States for a short trip. You come back into the United States. You go to the airport. You go to the border. You show them your advance parole document. Guess what just happened? Even though you initially entered the United States without inspection, you came across the border, because you have now shown your advance parole and you are now readmitted to the United States, you are inspected at the border. You're married to a U.S. citizen. You could adjust your status. You have a U.S. citizen son or daughter who's over the age of 21. You can adjust your status. You are the child under the age of 21 of a United States citizen. You can adjust your status. So that's one way around it. Unfortunately, those who entered without inspection, according to the Supreme Court, Justice Kagan, who is a liberal judge, she wrote the opinion. She said it is a straightforward application of immigration law, and it supports the government's decision to deny adjustment of status because this particular litigant was not lawfully admitted. So if you have TPS, you entered without inspection, the answer is get advance parole, leave, return. You're lawfully admitted. Now you can adjust your status. So that's what happened in the Supreme Court with immigration today. The United States Citizenship and Immigration Services updated their policy manual with respect to how a naturalization applicant's good moral character is affected if that applicant registers to vote or votes in a U.S. election. Now, in the past, the rules have changed now. In the past, if you had registered to vote and you were not a United States citizen, even if it was done incorrectly, even if it was sometimes done without you realizing you were registering to vote, at a minimum, it's 5 years bad moral character to file for your citizenship. And at a maximum, you may have committed a crime by making a false claim to U.S. citizenship. Now, under the new rules, if you are registered to vote, but you never affirmatively made a claim to United States citizenship, a lot of times you go and you apply for your driver's license and there's a question, do you want to vote? And people just check off the box without affirming they're a citizen or they're eligible to vote. Sometimes people just literally are canvassing the neighborhood trying to get voter registration, drives out, and sometimes they don't ask whether you're a citizen or a resident, and they just sign you up to vote. Unless you have made an affirmative application or an affirmative statement that you're a U.S. citizen, that in of itself, as long as you actually didn't vote, would not prevent you from becoming a citizen, because that is no longer bad moral character. So that is actually a really good rule change by the Biden administration. There's so many people who just don't know the law and just say, oh yeah, I'd love to vote. I got my green card. I didn't know I couldn't vote. So that is a good application of the law. Now, if you vote, different story. A lot of times people register and then realize they're not allowed to, and then they withdraw their registration. It still affects them on their citizenship. And in Afghanistan, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, you know the United States is pulling out on September 11th, 2021. They have all of the U.S. military will be out of Afghanistan, the longest war in United States history, on September 11th, 2021. Problem is, they're leaving about 18,000 Afghans behind who assisted the United States military in all of these years, whether it's usually for translation, sometimes as guides in areas that the U.S. military didn't know, sometimes as go-betweens. Whatever it is that these Afghans helped the U.S. military, they were protected because the U.S. military was there. Now, when the U.S. military leaves, there's a concern that these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Afghans, their lives are in danger. So a group of lawmakers wrote a letter to President Biden on Friday that said, no U.S. entity, to include the Department of Defense, Department of State, has the ability or authority to protect all of these people in Afghanistan after our withdrawal. It would be a moral failure to transfer the responsibility to protect our Afghan partners onto the shoulders of the Afghan government. The time is now to honor our promise. And our promise was that if you assisted the United States government, you would be able to ultimately immigrate to the United States of America. Now, the letter states, if we fail to protect our allies in Afghanistan, it will have a lasting impact on our future partnership and global reputation, which will then be a great detriment to our troops and the future of our national security. This is a bipartisan letter by 22 different lawmakers in the U.S. Senate. Think about it. If we don't do something to help these Afghan people who assisted the U.S. military, if we go to another country in the future and we say, hey, help us and we'll help you, who's going to believe us?
Exactly.
Right.
They say, no freaking way.
Right.
No freaking way.
It's grimy.
Yeah. So federal officials said 18,000 Afghans are awaiting entry into the United States through the Special Immigrant Visa Program. They've applied for green cards. They've assisted the United States. They were promised green cards, and it's being held up as a result of bureaucracy. So on Thursday, the State Department was looking for a way to get them to safety and still be able to adjudicate their applications. So the thought being now that they would be airlifted to Guam and remain in Guam, which is a U.S. territory, until their bureaucracy of their applications comes through. I hope that if they get airlifted to Guam and stay in Guam, it's not a permanent place for them to live, Guam, you know, because who knows how long they'll be in Guam. It's better than getting killed in Afghanistan on September 12th. It's going to be a bloodbath if we don't do something. And it's only 90 days away.
That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually more Afghans, I mean, you know, ironically, who are waiting on green cards who assisted the U.S. military, who are at risk of death, than people who actually died in 9/11. 18,000. 18,000 Afghans. Yeah. And don't you think people who want retribution don't know who they are? And by the way, we got to talk about Pumpkin a little bit. There's a new thing now, a new thought that he may do. Florida, because Florida, remember, New York lost. Nesquik, listen up to this one. This is a new theory on what Trump may do. Because New York lost a congressman seat, or congresswoman seat, remember, from the census, we talked about that. and Florida gained a seat. And who lives in Florida? Donald Trump. The thought being that if it's possible and looks like the Republicans, this is not as crazy as it sounds. The Republicans are only 2 Senate seats away. One Senate seat away from taking over the Senate. So remember, it's 50-50. The House of Representatives is 12 in favor of Democrats. It's that close in the 2022 election. Trump is now thinking he would run for the extra seat that was just made in Florida to be in the House of Representatives.
Of course he would.
If he runs, the presumption is he would win. If the Republicans win 1 extra seat in the Senate, 12 seats in the House. Now remember, historically, the party that does not have the presidency in the interim election always gains seats in the House, historically for the last 50 years. So the Republicans, all else remaining equal, are expected to gain seats in the House. Perhaps as many as 12, perhaps there could be 20 or 30, depending on how the economy is doing. Now, if the Republicans get the Senate and the Republicans get the House of Representatives, they can make Trump the Speaker of the House instead of Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now Donald Trump says, we want to impeach Biden and Kamala Harris. They have the Republican votes to do it if they can concoct some sort of reason to do it.
Wow.
Okay. And then who's third in line to presidency after the president, vice president are impeached? The leader of the House of Representatives.
Oh, wow.
So that is being floated around for Pumpkin. But the reality is...
Why doesn't he just give up?
The reality is, if you remember the impeachment vote, you actually need 66 votes to impeach. 66, not 50, 66 votes. So in order for this to actually come to fruition, should Trump actually do it, Republicans would need to pick up 16 Senate seats. But that's what he's thinking. No, it won't happen. He's delusional, but that's what he's thinking. It's possible that
I see the logic in it. I see the logic.
Right. Is it possible he runs for House and becomes the Speaker of the House? Absolutely. Will he be able to impeach Biden and Kamala Harris? No way. Okay. Right. But if he wants to be it's possible. Yes, that's possible. Meanwhile, he addressed the North Carolina GOP convention on Saturday night. And it was a second speech that he gave since he lost office. What did he have to say for himself? The 2020 election was a hoax. The survival of America depends upon our ability to elect Republicans. Trump attacked Biden's record on immigration, the economy, on foreign policy. Trump highlighted his administration's work on the vaccine. He said it's all because of him. And he renewed his interest in pursuing the origins of whether the virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, and then called on China to pay the United States $10 trillion for the damage caused by the virus. He says he wants to send a bill to China for $10 trillion. I am sure when China gets the bill from Donald Trump, they will be glad to write that check. Just like the Mexicans were very happy to pay for the wall. So right. it's like the same BS all over again. He's like, we're going to make China pay. We're going to make Mexico pay. I mean, how many times are we going to fall for this? So when I saw that, oh yeah, we're going to send a bill. Oh yeah, we're going to make China pay. China's never going to pay anything. Just like Mexico's not paying for a wall.
Delusional.
And by the way, he got banned from Facebook for 2 more years.
Good.
Oh, wow.
Right.
They're just going to keep adding time to his sentence.
Right. But now, but now he's calling Mark Zuckerberg a criminal. because he
come
banned
on.
Trump for 2 years on Facebook. He said Zuckerberg used fake information to manipulate the election somehow. Now, I want you to know something. At some point, he's going to call out the wrong person. I don't know if it's Mark Zuckerberg or not. All right, and he is going to get his tuchus sued for slander and libel.
Right.
Because there's no way that Mark Zuckerberg stole the election from him. He's just lashing out at Zuckerberg now because he banned him for 2 years from Facebook. But I mean, if I'm Mark Zuckerberg and I'm one of the richest people in the world and I want to teach some guy a lesson, I can literally spend $1 billion on lawyers. Okay, I could outspend Donald Trump with my pinky if I'm Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, literally bankrupt him in paperwork if he wants to. But he won't. He doesn't want to get involved, probably. But if I was Mark Zuckerberg, that's what I would do.
Easy, right away.
I wouldn't even think twice.
Right. But I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't have $1 billion or $10 billion to pay on lawyers. But that's what I do. I would be hiring lawyers in every state suing the guy. Literally sue him in every state. I don't even know if that's possible, but I would like think of every possible way.
Well, we would try and find out how possible.
That's right.
Cannot be.
Meanwhile, a lot of people on social media, did you see there was a story that was circling social media that during this speech, Donald Trump was wearing his pants backwards and he's suffering from dementia. Did you see that?
Yeah.
One meme was captioned, "No fly on Trump's pants. I think I know where it went." The picture is of the fly that landed on Mike Pence's noggin during the vice presidential debate. Even the pajama jeans for men have flies sewn on them, one caption said. But some eagle-eyed people who went back to look at the video of Donald Trump giving the speech, the reality is this is fake news. It's Snopes.com. This is fake news. He did not wear his pants backwards. This is hashtag fake news. So,
I believe he did.
But still funny.
It is.
But I mean, the funniest thing about it all is he's so I guess delusional and so off the wall and so we don't know where his mind is that if you said Donald Trump was wearing his pants backwards and didn't notice, a lot of people would say, "Really? I could believe that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how crazy the world is that you would say, "Yeah, I can believe that." I mean, if you know, at the end of the day, you would ask the squad, you know, Yo-Yo came on Bradshaw Live and he's wearing his pants backwards, they'd be like, "What kind of stupid idiot is that? Yo-Yo's not wearing his pants backwards." But you would believe that Donald Trump is, right?
Without a doubt. That's why I believe that it's true.
You believe it's true,
Yeah.
even though it's been determined it's not true.
Yes. Absolutely.
Vanessa, is your mind playing tricks on you? Do you believe Donald Trump was wearing his pants backwards?
I mean, look at it. There's no fly.
Yeah, well, that's a doctored picture.
There's way too many people around him for that to like.
That's the video.
Fly.
I just want to say this about the Donald Trump wearing the no pants backwards. When I first saw it, I was happy and sad at the same time. I'm like, poor guy's demented. Happy that eventually now people are going to notice this. I don't know about poor guy, but he's definitely demented. And then Jill sent me an email last night saying, "No, his pants were on right. This is fake news." And you know what my first reaction was?
What?
Damn!
Yeah.
Damn! That's exactly what it was. And I even emailed Jill back. I go, "Damn, I was so excited that he's wearing his pants backwards."
That's so funny. That's so funny.
All right, let's see what's going on in coronavirus. Across the United States, more children than ever could be in the classrooms for this summer school as makeup for the coronavirus outbreak. School districts nationwide are expanding all of their summer programs. The number of students expected to sign up is going to exceed 3.3 million people for mandatory or optional summer school than the year before in 2019. 3.3 million more students than the year before the pandemic. Now, in the United States, all right, this is very important stuff now. Coronavirus cases nationwide are down to about 15,000 per day. Deaths have plummeted to approximately 430 a day, levels not seen since the declaration of a pandemic on March 11th. So these are numbers that are lower than when Trump came on TV and said, we have a pandemic. This is lower than it was on March 11th when we all said, oh my gosh, we have to stay home now. New England, where more than 60% of residents have received at least one dose of the vaccine, has seen the sharpest declines in hospitalizations, death, and spread. Colorado health officials said hospitalization records show vaccines are preventing severe disease in their state. Dr. J.P. Vallon, chief clinical officer at SCL Health, told Colorado Public Radio that 95% of the patients who have been in the hospital since February, 95 of the patients hospitalized for COVID, 95% of the patients who were hospitalized in the state of Colorado, February, March, April, May, parts of June, in the last 4.5 months, 95% had no vaccine. 95% were unvaccinated.
Wow.
Now, Dr. Jeff Dushin, the chief health officer for Seattle and King County, told the Seattle Times that 97% of the people in Seattle who are being admitted to the hospital are unvaccinated. Mississippi, always a very sad state, Mississippi. Always terrible, Mississippi. I'm serious.
Why?
They're always, to me, listen, I'm sure the people in Mississippi are very lovely people. Okay, some of them. All right, but they're the most backward state in I'm sorry, people are going to yell at me from Mississippi. It is the most backward state. It's where all the most, racist things happened during, the civil rights era, even to this day. Even going back to the 1800s. Well, Mississippi is last in the nation for fully vaccinated people. As of Friday afternoon, only 29% of the population in Mississippi are vaccinated. So people in Mississippi, they're in for a bad summer. All right, the doctors in Mississippi, the nurses in Mississippi, you're in for a bad summer.
They better not bring none of that over here.
Yeah, they're in for a bad summer.
Right.
So, but is that a pretty cool statistic that if you're vaccinated, even if you get COVID, you're not going to the hospital? I talked about it last week, but I just even, there was a big thing in the newspaper, 7 New York Yankees 2 weeks ago tested positive for COVID. That was the headline in the newspaper. And they all had been vaccinated. So we're like, what the heck? 7 Yankees? They're all vaccinated? This vaccine doesn't work. But then if you read the fine print of these 7 Yankees who all tested positive, none of them had any symptoms. None of them even knew they were sick. The only reason that they tested positive is because Major League Baseball is testing everybody on a regular basis. Other than that, they wouldn't have even known they were sick. So if you say, if you take the vaccine, is it going to prevent you from getting COVID? Hopefully it prevents you from. Hopefully it doesn't, but it may not prevent you all the way. But what we have seen, what the science has shown is, it prevents you from getting sick.
So with you, I'm wondering, with you still having COVID in your system, just because you don't have the symptoms, could it still affect your organs like it would do? Like, could you still die from that and like not know? Like, oh my God, I didn't know that my organs were like all messed up.
No, because people die from COVID because they have trouble breathing.
Right.
So if you would know. You would know because you can't breathe. All right, you're having trouble breathing. But that's how most people are dying. It's just from lung capacity. So you don't have.
And didn't they say like would mess up your brain activity or something like that too?
I don't know. I mean, to me, you know, you don't have symptoms, you don't have symptoms. End of story. The thing is, you could,
Right.
if you don't have symptoms, you still could pass it on to somebody else.
So that's the dangerous part.
That's the
yeah,
dangerous
for
part.
other people who aren't vaccinated.
Right. But if you're vaccinated, if the answer is I don't want to die, then the vaccines work.
Yeah. Well, Moderna, me mama. That's what I got. So.
Oh my God! It's a dog story first. It's a dog story first, Yo-Yo. We have a heroic rat story. I don't know where it is in my cards, but we will find. It's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle. All right, but let's talk about San Antonio man offering $20,000 for a missing dog. Roi Biton, a local San Antonio, Texas man, is driving a huge poster of his missing dog on top of a 26-foot trailer, offering a $20,000 reward for his return. He's hoping the price that's on display will entice somebody to come forward. Roi has been driving the large sign and trailer around the city since April and dropping it off in random areas. Biton says, I hope that someone that saw something or the person that has him will see it and come forward. The size of the sign doesn't even reflect the ounce of the size of my love to him. I know it's mutual. I cannot stop thinking about him on the other side, wanting to go back home. Now, back in November, Biton said he was with his Golani and the other dog on a property. I guess it's a Golani is the dog. And his other dog on a property on Jones Maltzberger and Highway 281, south of Security Service Bank, that's near a canal. He said his dog took off chasing another animal and only one returned. Back in November, Biton said she appeared frightened. The one animal who came back appeared frightened with her tail between her legs. Biton said he jumped into his truck to get to the other side of the property where the dogs took off, but Golani was gone. The dog did not have a collar, but was microchipped. She appeared frightened with her tail between her legs. Biton served in the Israel Special Forces and said Golani was named after the unit he served in. He said his friend surprised him with the dog for his birthday. That's sad when you lose a dog.
Yeah, because they become family, you know, and like he said, you know, he said he was in the service, so that dog, you know, probably meant more than him to him than, you know, other dogs. So yeah.
So anybody in the San Antonio, Texas area that knows anything about this dog, please call 210-383-2404. Let's try to help this guy get his dog back. 210-383-2404. And in another human loves dogs to no end story, this incredible video, which we're going to show, shows a wild encounter with a human and a bear in California to save her dog. The frightening incident was caught on a home surveillance video. The woman is actually 17-year-old Hailey Morinico. She said she heard the family dog barking in her backyard, saw a massive mama bear on a wall with her cubs. The video shows the bear repeatedly swiping at her mother's service dog while 3 other pups barked. The teen jumped into action, shoved the bear off the wall, and quickly grabbed all of the dogs, running back into the house. She said, honestly, I did not know it was a bear until right after I pushed it. It didn't register in my head that it was a bear. It was like, it's an animal and it's taking my child, and I pushed the bear.
That is beast mode.
Yes.
Wow.
Listen.
Would you go charge a bear like that?
So this is the thing. She even said, like, I don't think she even realized it was a bear. She thought it was like another dog or anything. Like, she wasn't really thinking. It was just adrenaline. You got to think fast. You see somebody taking your little baby. So I probably would have done that too, just, you know, to save my baby. But after the fact, I'd have been like, what the hell?
Right.
Would you have done that for Lucky?
Yes, I would have. And then after I'd be like, what the hell?
Right.
That video is everything, though.
Yeah.
Like, do you see how she's brushing?
Now she said I didn't want to know what would happen if the bear hurt or even took her, so I had to do what I had to do. Look at that. Now Christopher Nyergis, he's a naturalist and author, says it wouldn't take much for the bear to cause serious injuries, not only to Hailey but to any of those dogs. So,
Right.
And the bear, the poor bear, was protecting her cubs, who were also on the ledge. So the bear thought that these dogs were attacking the cubs, and the bear went to attack the dogs, and then Hailey took over. We've talked about the heroic rat named Magua before. He has been working for 5 years in Cambodia, sniffing out dozens of landmines. He's believed to have saved lives, and he's now about to embark on a well-deserved retirement. The nonprofit APOPO said Thursday, although still in good health, he has reached a retirement age and is clearly slowing down. It's time for Magua to retire. He is a Tanzanian-born African giant pouched rat who was trained by APOPO to sniff out explosives. With careful training, he and his rat friends learned to identify landmines and alert their human handlers.
Oh, wow.
Now, of all of the rat friends, Magua is the standout sniffer. In 4 years, he has cleared more than 2.4 million square feet of land. He has found 71 landmines and 38 unexploded ordnances, taking his life in his hand every day. This rat steps on the wrong soil, kabooey!
Selfless, that
Kabooey!
rat.
God bless this rat. This rat's unbelievable. Now, if only this rat knew that he would go kabooey any second, perhaps he would rethink his job. But he didn't know it. So all we can say is God bless the rat.
Right, I'm sure he would have asked for a raise or something.
I would think so. I mean, this rat's like, I don't know what I did, but everybody loves me. If you're able to talk rat language, you'd be like, I ain't doing this job no more.
Right. That's hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So congratulations to Magua, the sniffing rat, on a well-deserved retirement.
I wonder if they're gonna have a retirement party for him.
Yes. All right. So
Sam should go.
what'd you say? What'd you say, yo?
That Groundhog Sam should go to the retirement party.
Right.
All right. So we'll do one more. In Wisconsin, a roughly 13-mile police pursuit ended without injury in the early morning of June 1st. Thank God. The police were pursuing somebody or something. It was on a Wisconsin farm where the fleeing suspect met with what police called a moving blockade of cows. The Barron County Sheriff's Department assisted the Barron City Police Department with the pursuit. The Post said it ended on a farm and would be remiss if we didn't thank the Barron County Bovine Unit for jumping into the fray when the vehicle came into their patrol area. The chase began shortly before 1 a.m. and started over a registration violation. The chase ended in the field and the man was arrested without incident. That's when the cows came out and surrounded the car. So basically, the cows came and ended the pursuit. The car couldn't go anywhere anymore. They were surrounding the car. Now, no humans or cows were injured, and we thought it was a good kickoff for the June Dairy Month. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.